This is the most insane example of a gangster lean that you've probably never even heard of. So we're gonna talk about the USS Texas and how it decided to do a little lean to be supportive of D-Day, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that went down before we got to that. So the USS Texas, it was commissioned in 1914 as a New York class super dreadnought. And if that doesn't sound terrifying enough, I don't know what is. This was a giant ship back in 1914. Obviously, we're not in World War I until 1917, so it doesn't really get too much action. It was present at the Tampico incident, but it didn't do anything. It was just there to be there. This ship was kind of a government guinea pig from the get-go. It was the first U.S. battleship to launch an aircraft from its deck. It was also the first ship to get anti-aircraft guns, also known as AA guns, if you didn't know that's what that stands for. The original version of the ship, before it had gone through a bunch of overhauls, had 10 14-inch deck guns, 4 Hotchkiss saluting guns, 21 5-inch guns, and 4 torpedo tubes. That thing was loaded. Throughout World War I, it was really more of just like an escort ship. It escorted mine layers, just not really super involved. It did escort President Woodrow Wilson to Paris to go sign the Treaty of Versailles to officially end World War I. Now that World War I is done, just need a little remodel. Nothing too crazy. Except for the fact that it receives the first commercial radar ever in the Navy. Once again, another government guinea pig. We are now in World War II. Obviously, the U.S. does not get involved until December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy, also known as bombing of Pearl Harbor. That happens and everyone's like, we're going in. Battleship Texas does not necessarily get involved until Operation Torch. Operation Torch was an invasion on northern French Africa, which was the first kind of screw you to Hitler and Mussolini. Flash forward to June 1944, D-Day. One of the largest assaults ever, not the largest, but one of 2,800? No, 1,200? Let's do a quick Google. There are 41,026 total ships, watercraft, boats, if you will, in the water at D-Day. D-Day, Battleship Texas is there and it's just bombing the beach, just trying to help support the troops that are on the ground as best as they can. For frame of reference, at Operation Torch, Battleship Texas fired 300 total shells. In the first 34 minutes of D-Day, the Battleship Texas launched 255. 255 in 34 minutes versus 300 total. That's a lot. After leaving Normandy, went back to England to go resupply, get everything ready, came back to Normandy. The Texases realized that troops had advanced so far inland, guns couldn't reach the right angle to properly support their troops. If they're shooting where they're at, they're probably gonna shoot the troops. So they're trying to figure out, how do we get this up? They're like, well, if we need to raise this, we gotta lower this. And how do we lower this? We flood it. Duh. Battleship Texas said, hey, watch this. You know, like whenever you're tilting a painting or a picture on the wall, you're like, a little bit, little more, a little bit more, a little more. That's it. That's literally what they did. They tilted the ship 2 degrees. So they went, little more, and that's it. And that's all they needed. Nobody normally in their right mind would flood the hull of their ship, but it worked. It's not crazy if it works. After D-Day, she moves to the Pacific Theater, where she's present for Iwo Jima and Okinawa. No gangster leaning required on this one. After World War II wraps up, yep, we're good, we won, take that, you fascists. She becomes decommissioned in 1948 and then becomes the first museum ship in the US. So, she's just been the guinea pig for everything this whole time. She sat right by the San Jacinto Monument up until 2022 when she was towed to Galveston to go put in dry dock for complete overhaul. I believe it's a $35 million refurbishment on the ship. Then it's been back in the water now, but still being refurbished. They have just figured out that the new home for the USS Texas is going to be Pier 15 in Galveston, Texas, and it should open up in 2027. I'll be there. when it opens up in 2027. I bet you never thought that you were going to hear that a battleship did a little gangster lean just to go take care of some fascists, did you? Well, now you know. And that is the brief on the USS Texas. If you like history or anything super interesting, kind of weird, something that you might want to dig more into, go ahead, drop a like, follow, and let me know if there's something in specific that you would want to hear more about. And with that, that has been an episode of History Briefed. See you later.